All right, welcome to Chapter 4. We're going to start with a bit of plugin editing, and then we're going to learn about our next topic, inheritance and composition. Let's switch to our PFM project. Let's make it just a quick note. We just learned about pragma once and including and all that stuff. You'll notice at the top of plugin processor.h there's a pragma once, and then same for plugin editor, there's also the pragma once, right? And we learned that what that means is to only include this file once wherever we end up using it in the project. Now we know that in this header file for the editor, we're not using this plugin processor anywhere. So we don't need to include this, all right? We can use our forward declaration trick. Okay, so let's do that. Struct, right? Put that there like that. Right? And now in our plugin editor, we can actually include it, which we are already doing. If we build it, it should work just fine. Okay, cool. The first thing we are going to do is go to our plugin processor.h. We're going to go down to our bool should play sound, and we're going to turn it into an audio parameter bool. All right, audio parameter bool, like that. Right. Audio parameter objects are those parameters you see when you go to edit automation in the DAW. Okay, so they are the variables that the DAW sees and stores about your plugin when you quit the DAW. They're what your plugin presets save and load, so the settings on your GUI can be restored when you load a preset. All right. So we need to initialize this in our constructor. All right, if we try to compile it now, we'll get an error message. All right, no viable conversion from bool to this. All right, so get rid of that, comment that line out. We'll get another error message saying doesn't have a valid constructor. Constructor must explicitly initialize the member should play sound, which does not have a default constructor. All right, let's take a quick look at what that constructor needs to look like. Right. This is what the constructor needs to look like. Right. It's got a bunch of default values that helps us out. So we really just need to provide these three things when we initialize it. Right. The parameter ID, the name, and then its default value. Okay. So we'll grab this real quick just for our own reference. And we'll go to plugin processor.cpp. We'll go up to the constructor. Right here, constructor for must explicitly initialize, okay? And we'll add a comma after this, and we'll put it after this end if. We will play should play sound right here. We'll copy this. Okay, now we can replace this with our desired param name, parameter ID, should play sound param. All right, the name of it, we'll just say should play sound, and its default value will be false. Let's take a look at some of the member variable. Let me just compile this so that way we can get rid of that error message. Let's take a look at some of the member variable functions of our audio parameter. Right? So we'll do should play sound dot, and we'll see what we get. Okay, there's some stuff that's crossed out, which means they're private. We can't use them yet. We don't fully know what private means. We're going to learn that real soon, though. Got over to get to these public and private and protected keywords. All right. There's one function that's really important to us. Set value notifying host. Okay. This is how you notify the DAW that you've made a change to the parameter so it can be recorded as automation, and also know that you changed the plugin settings so the DAW can ask you if you wish to save your changes when you quit. All right, this is a super important function. Okay, in order for this to work, we need to register the parameter with the plugin. Okay, there is a member function on the plugin processor itself called add parameter, but it takes a pointer. Let's go take a look at that real quick. Audio processor. All right, we'll jump to definition. Okay, we're gonna look for this add parameter function. Okay. Okay, so here's the documentation, and it takes this add parameter function takes a pointer to an audio processor parameter, right? This parameter object will be managed and deleted automatically by the audio processor when it is no longer needed. Okay, so we need to change our should play sound member variable from being a full-on audio parameter bool to being a pointer to one, right? And then that means we need to use the new keyword. All right, we'll initialize this to null pointer. All right, we'll get rid of this line. We will get rid of this comma. So right here, we're going to go should play sound equals new audio parameter bool. All right, we can just copy these arguments as we needed. All right, and now we can do add parameter should play sound like that. If we run and test in the current form, the white noise is always going to play. And it is awful. This is because if we go to our plugin processor.cpp, down in our process block down here, this is because should play sound is now a pointer. It's no longer a Boolean value, which is a memory address. So this little conditional check right here, the if should play sound is the same as saying if some non-zero number. Okay? We recall that 0 is false and anything else is true, which means that the address of should play sound is not 0, and that's why it's going to always play a sound. And our mouse is not going to do anything when it's clicked. Okay? Well, the mouse is not going to do anything when it's clicked because we removed the code that would make it do something. Okay? The solution is to use the get member function to get the Boolean value stored in the parameter. Right? It's a pointer, so we use the arrow, and then get to get the parameter's current Boolean value, like that. Right. This also means we need to update our mouse up implementation to make use of this. Okay, so go to your plugin editor.cpp, go here, and we're going to change this to, we will uncomment this. We will do should play sound. All right, we want to set the value notifying the host, and our new value is going to be this thing. Right, get. All right, it's basically the same. Instead of should play sound, we're going to do should play sound set value notifying host, and then we're going to get the current value, invert it because it's either a 0 or a 1. Right? That's what true or false translates to. All right, let's run it again and make sure that this behaves as it did previously, where when we click on the GUI, it plays a sound, and when we click on it again, it stops playing a sound. Okay, we'll open the GUI and click. There's noise, sounding as terrible as ever. All right, and we'll close this. Before we venture into trying out our plugin in an actual DAW, in my case Logic, we need to change some of its settings in ProJuicer. Okay, so navigate to ProJuicer. All right, we need to pull up our DAW, our plugin project. All right, open recent, PFM project 0. Okay, all right, go to project settings, click this gear right here, and scroll down to plugin characteristics. All right, you're going to want to make sure that plugin is a synth is checked right here. Okay, you're going to want to scroll to AU main type right here. You're going to want to make sure that music device is checked in a dimmed fashion. All right, you're going to want to save. Okay, if you happen to change anything here, you're going to want to save it. You're going to want to change this to use Logic. Right, set it on audio unit. Edit scheme. All right, change the executable. Logic Pro X. Choose. Close. Now you can recompile it and run, and you should be able to see the audio unit in Logic. Now, before we begin compiling it, there's one thing that we need to retain that used to work that now does not work, and that's when we close the editor, we wanted to set the sound to false. All right, so let's make that work. All right, so we need to say when we close the editor, processor.shouldPlaySound, right, set value notifying the host. All right, we want it to be false, like that. All right, now go ahead and compile it and see if it shows up in your DAW. Before checking this in an actual session, you can go to Preferences, Plugin Manager, and we can look for our plugin, PFM. Okay, this is not the one we want. We want PFM Project 0. Okay, so we need to close this. All right, let's kill Logic, push the stop button. What we need to do is, and this is a bug that's in Logic, we have to go to our folder where our plugin is. Right. New. Okay, we need to go to where all that stuff is stored. This plugin gets copied to users. Right, our user folder is going to get copied to library, audio, plugins, components for Logic. Right, here's our plugin. All right, so we need to move it out, right, and then move it back in. This is a known bug in OS X 10.13 and whatnot. All right, now if we do it again, it's going to see it. Another way we can check is to open audio plugin host and check it that way. Let's do this in Logic though. All right, we can check again. Oops, that's not what I wanted to open. Preferences, plugin manager, PFM. There we are, PFM project 0. If it does not appear there, then you need to restart your computer. Okay, and that's the other fix you can do. You can either restart it when you create a new audio unit when installing them on 10.13, or you can do that little folder swap. Okay. Hopefully they will fix that in an update. That's something that Apple needs to fix. Okay. Okay. We're going to create a new session with our plugin. All right. File new. All right. Software instrument. You're going to navigate to audio unit instruments. Whatever your company name is that you've put. It might be under your company if you didn't put anything. Okay. Then PFM project stereo. Create. All right. Here's our plugin in Logic. All right. We can click and it'll make some sound. Let's turn this down before we do that though. Oh, it sounds terrible. Oof. All right. Since it doesn't do much, let's see if it does some automation. All right. We'll put this on latch. All right. We can see that our parameter is here for being automated. All right. So let's show that. All right. Spacebar, record, click, nothing. All right. No automation got recorded. This is from my MIDI controller. I hit the keyboard. Right? Yeah, that's the mod wheel on my keyboard. It's not from the plugin wheel. Okay, so after playing around with automation, automation does not work in the plugin. The DAW does not track GUI events. Not only that, but the DAW does not save the plugin state if we close the plugin. All right, if we close this, all right. Let's save it. Let's save this session. All right, we'll call. I already saved this before. I'll just save over it. PFM project 0. The DAW is currently not going to remember the state of the plugin if a parameter was on or if it was off when we quit. Let's tackle the automation thing first. Okay. We're going to add 2 function calls per the audio parameter documentation that explains how to get automation happening from the GUI. Right. If we hold down the option key and click on set value notifying host, we will see some documentation. Okay, and it says here this processor should call this when it needs to change one of its parameters. This could happen when the editor or some internal operation changes the parameter, aka automation. All right, and then at the bottom it says, note that to make sure the host correctly handles automation, you should call the begin change gesture function and the end change gesture function to tell the host when the user has started and stopped changing the parameter. All right, so that's what we need to put here. Processor.should play sound. We'll wait for autocomplete. All right, begin change gesture. Right, and then processor.should play sound. End change gesture like that. Okay. Oh, we can quit Logic, by the way. Let's recompile and run it and make sure that it tracks our automation. Okay, we'll reopen that project that we had open. And there's our plugin. Okay, and let's record. Turn off the click, and there's our automation. Awesome. All right, spacebar, check it out. Perfect. All right, we can delete this automation because it sounds terrible. All right, save. We will quit Logic. Awesome. Okay, what we're going to check now is whether or not our editor stuff gets stored when we open and close the editor, if it's making sound. Okay, let's turn this all a lot further down. Like there, we just, it sounds terrible. We don't want to hear it. We still need to see what's going on. Okay, We'll make it so we can see our parameter. All right. Let's get some sound happening. All right, and we will close our GUI. So you'll notice that it doesn't record the automation when we close the GUI. All right, that's something that we want to fix. Save this. Let's quit logic. All right, so we need to add these same begin change gesture and end change gesture calls right here. Okay. All right, let's rerun it. And we will reopen our project. And let's show our editor. Okay, let's record some automation and then close the editor. And there it goes. Turns it off automatically. Perfect. Save logic, automation, save it, quit logic. Okay, cool. The destructor and the mouse up function bodies sure do look similar, so we can refactor them into a single static function, which we will put in the audio processor class and apply some DRY concepts to simplify our code. Let's write a static function. Okay, we'll go to our plugin processor. Right after our audio parameter bool, let's make a static void update automatable. Geez, I'm having a hard time spelling that. Mateable parameter. All right, ranged audio parameter pointer. All right, float value. Okay. Again, a static member function is a function inside a class definition that does not have access to all of the member variables and member functions of the class the function lives in, because no hidden this is supplied to the function as a hidden argument by the compiler. All right. If you're not quite sure about what I mean by that, you can check out the pointers video, this video. All right. I think I said something about it in the pointers and references conclusion. I could be mistaken, but it's in. I believe it's in either pointers or this, one of the two. Next, let's go to our plugin processor.cpp. And we'll go down to after our set state information down at the bottom. We'll go down here and we'll say void pfm project 0, whoop, not 9, 0, audio processor. Right, update automatable. Right. Right, now this needs to have an actual name with it. If you remember what I said, that the compiler doesn't care about the name, which is why over here in the plugin processor, I didn't give it a name. I just gave it the type. Right, over here, I'm giving it the name. Right, in the body of this, we will say param begin change gesture param set value notifying host value we're passing in param end change gesture. And then in our editor, right, we are gonna change this destructor. Right, we're not gonna call these three guys. We're gonna call pfm processor and update. Right, the parameter we're gonna pass is processor.should play sound, and the value is false. Next, we will update the mouse up function. Cancel these guys out. And we will say, we'll do the same thing where we call pfm project processor update. Right, the parameter is processor.should play sound. The value is going to be this thing right here. So we can just copy that and put that in there. Now, if you remember over here, it's looking for a float value, right? Our type is a Boolean. So remember, Boolean false is 0 and Boolean true is 1, right? That's how that works. Let's run it again just to make sure everything is cool and make sure our automation is still tracking. All right, we'll open the session. We will show our plugin. Click record. Click, there's our automation. Click and close the GUI. Automation turns off. All right, awesome. Everything is working as it used to. All right, let's get rid of all of this automation. All right, save it, quit logic. Awesome.